Constitutional Duties of a Sheriff by Richard Mack, Utah. Speech given at the Restaurant Social and Speakers Forum of the IAP National Conference, January 17, 2003, Taylorsville, Salt Lake City, Utah. Richard Mack is a former county sheriff in Arizona, successful challenger of the Brady Bill, and a member of the Independent American Party. Introduction by Will Christensen, IAP Western States Coordinator. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Richard Mack. Richard was the sheriff of a small county in Arizona when the Brady Bill was passed, and he decided that that was not what he wanted to enforce, and so he filed suit against the federal government, he and a sheriff up in Montana, if I remember correctly. And he took that suit all the way to the Supreme Court, and won a tremendous freedom victory. And I understand he's going to talk about the ramifications of that, so without further ado, my friend Richard Mack. Address by Richard Mack. Well, I think the most important aspect of that introduction is that I'm Will's friend. Thank you. Since I did that, I lost a few friends. If I could have your indulgence for a minute, I am presently employed, technically not in the field of my choice. The one that I actually chose to be part of was stripped from me when I did the lawsuit on the Brady Bill. But my second choice would be to be in the freedom movement full-time, which is what I am right now. I work as Public Affairs Director for Gun Owners of America. Let me tell you just a little bit about them. If you're not a member, you should be. There's a few organizations in this country where you can put stock into their fundamental beliefs and agenda. Gun Owners of America is one of them. I worked with them before I worked for them. Now I work with them and for them. Larry Pratt is the executive director. You'll never meet a finer Christian, and you'll never meet somebody in this country who has sacrificed more for the God-given freedoms we've been talking about tonight. Gun Owners of America is not a single-issue organization. They are the second largest gun rights organization in this country, but the biggest one in the country, who believes in the fundamental values of the Constitution, the principles espoused in the Constitution by the founders. They believe, they are not afraid to say, they are pro-life and anti-gun completely and totally. Of course, if you're going to be pro-gun, you can't be pro-gun. And if you're going to be pro-life, you can't be pro-gun. And a lot of these hidden agendas that are part of the United Nations are freely talked about in our newsletter. And so I have here in front of me, and it's $20 to become a member. And if any of you have already purchased my books, then for you it's only $10. So you'd get both of my books and a membership in Gun Owners of America for just $30. That would make these worth $5 each. I would like to pass these around if I could. If you want one and could be a member, please do. So this is a very constitutional organization, and you'll get the newsletter, and within the next year it'll prove itself to you. So if you could just make sure every couple gets, I'd like everybody to join, or at least every couple to join in that fight. Cash, check, credit cards, but I prefer gold or silver, so a 10th ounce of gold would do it, or like 3 or 4 silver coins, probably 4 silver coins. Do you know, Will mentioned something. Will has been incorrect before in his life, and we could check with his wife on that, but he mentioned a sheriff that joined me in my lawsuit. Let me give you just a little real quick history on that. When the Brady Bill first was announced publicly, it was billed and advertised, propagandized from the Clinton White House, as a mere waiting period to make our streets safer from people who would jump out of their house in anger to run to a gun shop, grab a gun, and come back and kill their kids and wife. Which I tried to find out in all the police departments across the country, if that had ever happened, and I couldn't find one incident of that ever occurring. And even if it did, this still wouldn't have prevented any such thing. Anyway, President Clinton was propagandizing the Brady Bill as a measure to make our streets safer for police, and a time when of course it's for our children, that they could play in the parks in public in safety, because we all have this Brady Bill. Well, that was another Clinton-esque piece of propaganda, and probably matched the truthfulness of his "I did not have sex with that woman." Now, the Brady Bill, when I got closer to it, I started getting a little bit worried about it. But I wasn't going to have a major heart attack, and I never intended to file a lawsuit. I was sheriff the whole time that this was being talked about. I paid very little attention to it. I did not start forming a political action committee saying, what are we going to do about this Brady Bill thing? It happened when the BATF sent 3 of their agents to a Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix, Arizona. Any of you from Arizona know that there's only 15 counties in Arizona, about half of what there are in Utah, and so to get 13 or 14 sheriffs together is not that hard. And we actually had 12 of us. We had a quorum. And the BATF shows up to address 12 sheriffs. It takes 3 of them. And do you know what they were there for? To hand us our marching orders as to how we were going to comply with the Brady Bill. Now I was having a heart attack. And the rest of the sheriffs did also. The one from Sholo, Arizona, Gary Butler, all of them did. You never heard so much cussing in your life. I guarantee you. And those sheriffs can cuss good even when they're not mad. And now they were mad. And we tabled the discussion until the next week. We had a special meeting. And then we came back and said, okay, what are we going to do about the Brady Bill? And I said, if we all stand together against this, we can just say no to it. And they wouldn't do it. They went down. I said, let's send a letter to Janet Reno, President, CC it to the senators, and put a notice in the paper that we're not doing it. And let the people know why. These guys were really afraid that the constituents would say that we are taking the law into our own hands, and we should set a better example, and so I said, there is no way I'm going to go along with this, and if we allow this, then where is it going to stop? There's not a one of us that reports to the BATF, and they're trying to make it that way. And so I came home from that meeting, and talked to my boss, and asked her what we should do, and told her I was probably going to file a lawsuit, and that is what's so stupid about all this, and maybe I showed my own naivete. I didn't form that committee, and I didn't go around door to door, and calling people, and ask them if this was the right thing to do. There was only 3 people that made this decision, and it was me, my wife, and the good Lord. And because it was an automatic decision for me, I certainly prayed about this absolutely. But I believe that the decision was made that quick. When the BATF showed up and said this, I said, you know, it's over. You don't need to ask the Lord if you know to say, do I need to do this good thing? Do you know? But certainly I asked for His help and His strength in performing the duties that are associated with this arduous task of suing the Clinton administration. A small town sheriff, Grand County, was 30,000 people. It's a farming community, copper mining area. And then when I filed the lawsuit, I was alone. No one else in the country had talked about doing this, no one. And then luckily, boy did I have a great day, when I found out that Sheriff Prince from Montana was also doing the same thing. He never called me, I never called him. I never met him before in my life, until we were asked to be on the Phil Donahue show together. Of course the other side was there, Sarah Brady was there, and an attorney from Handgun Control Incorporated. Here's 2 country sheriffs debating Sarah Brady, and an attorney from Handgun Control Incorporated. And Phil Donahue said something that was very different for him. He said he really respected our constitutional concerns, and that was on nationwide television. He said that so miracles were taking place with this whole thing. Ultimately, 7 sheriffs joined the lawsuit, filed lawsuits in separate jurisdictions across the country, not more than 1 from any one state: Vermont, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Wyoming, Montana, and Arizona. That's it. There's 3,000 sheriffs in the country. 7 filed the suit. And it wasn't without some real repercussions. Several, 2 or 3, of the sheriffs lost their re-election bids right away. And I lost mine about 9 months before the decision came out that we won. And it really would have helped had we got that just a little bit earlier, but it was a 4-year battle. Not quite a 4-year battle. But to get to the district court, circuit court, and then to the U.S. Supreme Court, and get a victory in 4 years, any of you lawyers know how miraculous that was. It was really a miracle. And I'm telling you right now, that victory made everything, losing the job, moving, losing the home, and everything else, we completely started over. At how old were we? I was about 42, I guess. And then to come up to Utah County and say, do you know, because I was a cop in Utah County. I started my police career in Provo, Utah, and I was a cop for 11 years. And then some crazy people from Arizona had called me and said, we want you to move home to